everybody. So it's the Hallmarkies podcast, and we are here for our 9th episode of Chesapeake Chats, and we're talking about show Chesapeake Shore. This week is the big finale for this season, and I'm Rachel, and Kaycee is here to talk it over with me.
Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for coming and talking about this episode. So
thanks for having me.
So what were your overall thoughts about this episode?
So I didn't mind this episode, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, kind of wish it was like episode 5.
Yeah, that's
but I didn't mind it. I thought there were a lot of good things going on there. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. So
yeah,
I just wish it was a middle episode.
Yeah, I just felt like it was a continuation of the things I've been very frustrated with, but it did have some good stuff. Certainly not the worst episode of the season by any means. I will talk about it. Some stuff I just will never understand, some of the choices that they made. But like I said, there was some good stuff. About we'll kind of go through the episode and talk about each of the kids kind of arc going on here. So it starts out with I liked this scene at the very beginning with all of the couples at the bridge. And it just flowed, I thought, really nicely between one group, and then you're over here, and then you're over here. It flowed in and out, I thought, pretty nicely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I liked how they did the camera movement.
Yeah.
Like the cinematography was really good in that scene.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And one of the couples is Kevin and Sarah. And this is like a goodbye party for Sarah. And we've been over this so many times about how Chesapeake Shores and Philadelphia are like an hour away. This is not a problem. And it just baffles me because she gives this big toast. I'm leaving you. You'd think that she was moving to Iraq. I mean, this is like, what? And then when she's home with her parents, she said she hadn't been home in 4 years. What?
Okay, well, that I can see why, because the whole fact that she got married at home. And I think that's why she hadn't been home for 4 years.
Okay.
Not because she didn't want to see her family.
Okay.
Like, I think she was very traumatized by being there.
I was like,
that's what I thought.
I know that drive is not the best. Pennsylvania roads are not fun, but 4 years. So you're right. You're right. That's probably true.
But I mean, out of context, I will say, if you have not visited your family in 4 years and they're an hour away, that's really weird. Like, yeah. If she were just like, if she didn't get married there, it was like normal thing, that's weird.
Yeah.
But
it seemed like they had like a perfectly great relationship. So
yeah,
that is really, really strange. Maybe they just met somewhere else or whatever for when they got together.
Yeah. I'm stretching my imagination. Her parents probably drove to Chesapeake Shores.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, sweetheart, I know you can't come home. We'll just come to you.
Yeah. At least I know that Jessica Sipos gets it, because I tweeted, I said, here's my tender goodbye speech for moving an hour away. And she was like, ha ha ha. She liked it so. And yeah, then you get like a little bit of the Mick and Trace drama. And honestly, like, the bridge turning into a Waffle House sounds like the most delicious idea I've ever thought of. Like, that sounds so yummy. What is the problem? Like, I will never understand the decision to focus so much on this non-issue of Trace and Abby are not married. They're just dating. They're not even engaged. And so for him to have this battle between whether he should go on tour or not as a working musician as his job is absolutely insane. If they were married, then you might have that discussion. But even so, like, creative people, they, now with Skype and other stuff like that, like, you make it work. It's just, it's so stupid. I can't even understand it. And I like Jesse Metcalf, and I like Megan Ori, and I like the characters, this plot is just so, and it's so frustrating to me when you have something as compelling as Megan and that whole family conversation we'll talk about at the end, and it gets 4 minutes, and how much time they spend on Trace. Like, I just I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, it's very frustrating to me because I just don't get it.
Yeah. I did not care for that at all. I don't understand how it spanned over the entire season. It's I don't know. It's ridiculous because, first of all, Trace is not a businessman. Mick is a businessman.
Yeah.
Trace does not know numbers. Mick knows numbers. So why not take the advice of someone who's a sage in money and do what you really love, which is music? His first love is not the bridge. It's music. So why is it such a big deal for him? I mean, other than pride. Well, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, do what you love and let him do his thing and make you successful. He's perfectly fine to run it.
Well, and he tells Mick, "Oh, I hate this band that's playing," and it's the like, what was it, country jukebox or something? Yeah. And it's like, your own band, first of all, is called the Trace Riley Band. Tell me that the country jukebox is a worse name than the Trace Riley Band. And secondly, your own band couldn't play in the bridge. Like, what is... I hear, like, somehow you become like a hipster. When did Trace become a hipster?
I don't know. When they knocked that halo off his cowboy head.
Yeah. I just like, what? And
yeah. Can I just say also too, when they were like, oh, tour for 6 months in Europe, I'm like, Europeans like country music? What?
Yeah, good point. That's right. I mean, they might, maybe, but like I said, they're not even engaged.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely absurd that he would be like, I'm sorry, I have to be committed to my family. And like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, for instance, when I interviewed Barbara Niven, she said the story about how one time she went into Cameron Matheson's hotel room when they were making a movie, and she heard like voices and stuff, and she saw that he was FaceTiming with his kids, and like, not just like 5 minutes, hi, he had it on for like the whole evening, where like they could come in and out and help him and get help with their homework, whatever. And so, like, people that are artists do things like that so that they can, you make it work. In this day and age, there are so many ways to make it work.
Yeah.
That, like, the idea of, it's like, you either give up your dreams, you give up your talent, or you are a bad person and need to commit to your family. What? That's insane. And I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I felt really, for the first time in this entire show, I felt bad for Lee. Yeah. Like, I never really cared for her much, but like, I really felt bad for her because like her career is dependent on Trace. I mean, I'm sure she could go solo, but I mean, it's not fair when he's committed all this time to the band, and he's like, oh, we got to get the band together, oh no, blah blah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, peacing out.
Yeah.
See ya.
Like, this is an exciting thing. And also, if he is supposed to be as famous as they pretended he was with the whole paparazzi thing, then,
which I still don't get right now.
Like, what? Like, what's going on? I just, like, on one hand, they try to play that he's like an up and coming artist, and like he needs these gigs, and he's whatever. And then on the other hand, they try to play that he's like uber famous. Like, people want pictures of him coming out of cars. Like, what?
Yeah. And that storyline went absolutely nowhere.
No.
Like, that's the other thing too. I'm like, okay.
It went nowhere because there's nowhere to go. Like,
well, yeah, that's true.
Really, like, what is Trace supposed to do about this?
Right.
Nothing.
Well,
He can do nothing.
like, but what was but my point is, like, what was the value add in even having it there? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they could have had so many other things rather than that.
But seriously, in this episode, there was probably at least 50% of the episode was dedicated to Trace drama. And at least. And when you have something as good, it's like we talk about in my church sometimes, we talk about good, better, best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can have something that's good, but it's not better. And then there's something that's the best thing that you're supposed to be doing. Here in this case, like even if you like the Trace stuff, I can't imagine anyone saying that it's better than the Megan stuff. So why isn't that 50% and Trace getting 25%? I'm fine with that.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's the one thing, even though I liked the episode, didn't love it, liked it, I was disappointed in the fact that we got 4 minutes in the book.
Yes, so disappointed. So anyway, let's talk about something more positive, which was Connor being hilarious, because him talking about all this, like about this fish and the shrimp and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, you're all this benzene. What are you gonna do?" I thought that was funny, and the continuing thread through the entire episode. I mean, this is good.
Yeah, he and Danielle were nice comedic relief, I suppose. Yeah. Even though I don't exactly love Danielle, I want to see him with I want to see him with, like, this is not so bad. I want to see him with a bunch of different women. I just because for the sheer fact of, like, if he sticks to one, they get married at the end. That's the end of a story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it'd be nice to see more, like,
dating,
romantic tension, if you will.
Yeah, I can co-sign to that. I think that would be fun. And yeah, it was just so funny. He's like, "You definitely had too much benzene. Good luck, Bree." That made me laugh. That was good. I was afraid. I was like, "Ooh, is that bridge scene gonna take away our breakfast scene?" Which I love the breakfast scenes, but no, we got a breakfast scene, so I was really glad for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did love the scene with Abby and Mick at the breakfast table.
Yeah. What'd you like about that?
I was like, Abby is right on. I'm so glad that they don't have her as this, like, wishy-washy woman that's like, "Oh, I'm a strong, confident businesswoman."
Yeah.
You know, and then she's like, "Oh, but my love's saying that, I'm going to go with him. Oh, no." You know, I'm really glad, like, she stuck up for what, you know, she believes is right, which is her dad is right. Yeah. She channeled Mick. End of story.
See, Abby, like, gets it.
She gets it.
Yeah. Abby's on Team Mick. This is good. This is right.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. I thought that was nice. And I mean, I just can't. We did a poll on my Twitter, granted only 12 votes on our Twitter, and it's winning 58% Team Trace. And please, if you're listening, please explain. Please, Twitter or in comments, please explain to me how you can be on Team Trace. I know he's pretty. I get it. You know, Treat Williams is handsome for his age, but I just don't understand being on Team Trace. Yeah. And it's I don't know. Like, it's just such a I don't understand. Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, I will also say too, with Mick, I do appreciate the fact that he never tries to mar Trace.
Yeah.
In front of Abby. Like, it'd be so easy for him to be like, "Abby, what are you thinking dating this doofus?" Just like, he's an idiot. Why are you, like, he doesn't get it. He's trying to go against me, but he never does that. And, like, major props, because if I were Mick, I would not be that nice.
Yeah. In fact, he actively tells her to, like, you know, "Do you sure you want to get involved in this?" Like, sort of kind of things. Like, he's giving her really good advice. Like, he's not trying to sway her to his point of view.
Right. Yeah. And I really appreciate that.
Like, basically he's saying, like, you need to talk about this as a couple. And I have to say, so this season, I'm convinced there's going to be a Hallmark quiche cookbook, Chesapeake Shores cookbook at the end of the season, because we've got so many. And this one was arugula and pistachio, which is so weird. What? I don't understand that, because arugula is like, usually have it on top of things. It's not usually mixed in, right?
Yeah.
Like if I have arugula on a pizza, I have it like on top of the pizza.
Yeah.
And then like pistachios are on nuts.
Yeah.
How do you have nuts in quiche? What?
That is just, I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna see if this is a real thing.
Google it. I mean, maybe I just have had a very narrow definition of quiche.
Arugula and pistachio quiche.
Yeah.
Oh, arugula and pistachio pesto quiche.
Oh, pesto quiche.
Ew. All right.
There you go. Look at that. Being very very gourmet at the O'Brien's. So okay.
Yep.
And
we can link it in the show notes.
Oh yes,
if you want
we
it.
will. We'll put a link, and if people make it, send us your pictures. So now we do have Connor and Danielle that are trying to get these samples from the lake or something, or from the shore.
I guess I was just like, all right, next.
Now, I mean, this is lawyering. This is like, I mean, this is getting down. This is getting down and dirty for your client. This is, I mean, you thought you'd never get fresh air being a lawyer. Look at
that. I didn't know that they did field work like that.
I had no idea either. But I really, I liked this whole part. I thought it was cute. It was fun. And did you know about all of these meanings of all these flowers? That like
I know some
daisies are for patience.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Whatever kind of flowers those were, they look like daisies, but
yeah. I knew some of them like way back in the day, a long time ago. If you ask me now, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Like a birds of paradise, that's the breakup flower or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess hyacinths are the forgiveness. So that was new to me. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And so Megan is getting the patience flowers, and then she gets the forgiveness flowers for Trace. And the thing is that like, what is she asking forgiveness for? What?
I have no idea.
I don't understand.
Forgiveness for getting sassy with him at the bridge. I'm being sarcastic.
I mean, I just said forgiveness flowers for what? Giving you sound business advice? Like what? Yeah. I guess he had seen, they have this like debate or whatever about like, and he sees her as taking Mick's side, but that's not true. She's just stating her opinion, mm-hmm. which happens to coincide with her father, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's taking her dad's side exactly. Like she's just putting all the pieces together and happens to agree.
She's a smart woman.
Yeah. She's a smart woman.
Like she's a smart woman. That's all I gotta say about that.
Like if I'm married and I have a disagreement with my spouse or with anybody, it doesn't have to be married, and I want to make up, I don't have to apologize for having an opinion.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can say, I'm sorry it got heated, or I'm sorry that I didn't listen better or whatever, but like you don't have to apologize for thinking.
Right. Yeah. That does not happen in real life.
Jess and David, who I guess have basically washed this in off of and they are going to be renting Sally's for the weekend or the week or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they end up accepting all of these fancy food that was misdelivered to the diner, and Kobe beef and truffles and whatever. And I'm pretty sure that that's like unethical. Like to do that. That's not not good to do. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if it's necessarily stealing, but it's close. It's on the edge of stealing.
I mean, I feel like you do the right thing. You just call them and say, hey, you delivered the wrong thing. They say, oh, well, we can't take it back because it's food, so you might as well keep it.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before
Yeah.
with like Walmart grocery pickup. Sometimes they've given me wrong food and it's like good food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I take this back or no? So I call because I feel bad because I want to be that person.
Right.
I say, hey, you gave me like a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts that I did not order. And they say, oh, oops. Have a good night.
Well, that's lucky though that you didn't get like some weird, I don't know, but just like weird Chinese food or something that you don't like.
Yeah.
That's lucky.
Tofu or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, what the heck do I do with this like vegan meatloaf or whatever? Yeah. But anyway, so David's super excited for this delivery. And like, I guess I'm kind of confused because David is super rich.
Mm-hmm.
We have never heard anything about him getting disowned or like officially. I mean, that Alexandra was nothing but praise for him.
Yeah.
When she came down, she didn't say any kind of threat or whatever. And so I don't understand if this is the food that he wants to cook. Why doesn't he cook it? They live in a resort town, a touristy town. Have a restaurant. I don't know.
Yeah, that was another question I have had the last couple weeks is like, what is David doing with his money?
Yeah.
Like, you can save the inn. You're filthy rich. You're an adult, which means all the money that you made is legally yours.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
That's the thing about this show is that they're setting up things that are supposed to be conflict, but they're not actually conflict because they're not sensible. So like they're like a false dichotomy. So it is not a conflict of whether Trace should go have his career or whether he should be at home because he's not married and those are not his children, and he should be able to, he should be able to go and they can work it out. So and they can involve him and it should be fine. This is another false dichotomy that like they're trying to show that David is like that's not like Jess is super worried about David becoming disinterested in her, that she's not like good enough or whatever. And that could be interesting, except for the fact that there's no reason why he can't do both. Why can't he have Jess and cook with truffles? The two are not like the two are not mutually exclusive. He can do both.
Right. And I mean, I don't know if Jess is worried about him leaving because she's just had so much baggage with, I don't know, people and changes. Like, she doesn't do well with change.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if maybe for her, it's more of an emotional thing. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm being too hard on it. This was cute. It was fine. Like everything with David and Jess this season has been cute and fun. His food is really delicious. Sally's got an upgrade.
Yes, they did. I would love to eat his food as well. It'd be amazing. The one thing I would say with David and Jess, as cute and as adorable as they are, I just wish there was more depth in their characters, like both of them. Like I would love to see a scene between the two of them and just hashing everything out. Like, this is my past, and this is why I'm crazy, and this is why I'm worried that you're gonna leave. And this is something that happened when I was a child or whatever. And I'll be like, Jess, I'm always there for you, blah, blah, and just have this like deep emotional connection. And like, I feel like we never get deeper than the surface with them. Like, it's cute and don't get me wrong, they're adorable. It's just
either make it deeper or make it more over the top. One or the other, I think, would have made it better. Like if the Pecks had been way more over the top and ridiculous, and if Alexander had been a true villain, and then that would have been entertaining.
Yeah.
Or if like there had been some real meat to it and David had been really conflicted about what to do and he could have lost his inheritance, or he could have, I mean, they're cute, but a little bland.
Yeah.
So unfortunately. But I'll tell you who's not bland is Kimberly Susted, who we get in the next scene. This was very exciting. We knew that she was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she might be one of Sarah's siblings, but no, we find out that she is the Caroline from Simon's book.
That meeting was amazing.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight of the episode. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Especially because Bree's been so rude about Simon's book. For her to meet Caroline was really fun. And then for they're like shaking hands and Simon comes in and he's like, oh no.
I got caught.
Yeah, that was really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Bree's really like snobby this season.
Totally snobby.
Like she's
without a doubt.
Really like over the top stuck up this season. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and hypocritical. Like she's mad at Simon for putting her in his book. And the only reason he's writing this personal and deep book is because she was so critical of his like, silly books, like
right.
And like she's writing this super personal book, but then she's really critical of Simon for writing a personal book. So that's super hypocritical. But it was still really fun, and like it was kind of funny to see sort of this nerdy character of Simon be like confronted by these two beautiful women only on television.
Yep.
Because Amelia Ulrup is stunning and Kimberly Susted is beautiful, and so that was pretty funny. It was kind of I felt like he sort of had his hand in the cookie jar. That was
he sure did.
Yeah.
And I loved Amelia's reaction, her facial expressions the whole time. I was like,
it was
amazing.
Really funny. And then there was the whole thing with Trace's manager coming in, Mark, and saying, I've got great news that you'll hate me for, which is just so frustrating. But I would not want to be his manager, that's for sure. But and then we go to Kevin and Sarah on her farm in Pennsylvania.
And, so far away.
Yeah, so far away. What a journey they've taken. Have some cute little walks and talks and stuff, and they're pretty good.
I like them, and I like the interaction between the family and the brothers, and how he was all like, she asked me out, and they were like, what? And the dad's like,
yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. And you got the handshake of death.
Yeah. Do you think they're writing them out?
I could see it. I could see it, or there being some kind of proposal or something at the end where they find out. I don't think they're writing Brendan Penny off, because remember at the end he finds out he's got a job. He got offered a paramedic job in Chesapeake Shores, and so it's possible they could be writing Jessica Sipos off the show, but I could also see him doing some dramatic proposal, like come, whatever. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah, with all the twinkle lights.
Yeah, next week. They can just go to that room that, the twinkle lights that Trace.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we have more of Connor and Danielle. And I just said, I don't know if either of them will ever be able to eat again after all this benzine and saline and whatever else they found in the shore. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to eat again.
So yeah, I mean, and this is when Abby gives the forgiveness flowers. And I just said, if the club was Trace's heart and soul, which is what Abby says, like, I'm sorry, this is your heart and soul, then why did he let it get plundered by Greg for like all that time? Like, if this is really your heart and what you love, then you wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Especially for being a first time like business owner. Like I would be so micromanagey, especially being away. Like I'd send my little minions. I mean, he could send Caitlin and Carrie as spies or whatever. I mean, it's not like, that's the thing too. Like the bridge is not his heart and soul. It's like music.
I thought the bridge was like kind of his backup.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, to have a steady income while he's off, because, you know, off in the touring and stuff, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Trace here, so I don't know. So I did love when Jess comes up to Kimberly Sested and says, "I just can't believe you're real." So I just said, we all feel that way about Kimberly Sested, Jess.
Yes.
That was great. So yeah, and Simon was hilarious, and we got this outdoor dining, and then so Trace isn't gonna go to Europe, and he tells Lee, and she's like, what are you doing? And that's and then John, I think is his name, the other guy, John, is like, what? That doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't make any sense. And that's that Connor and Danielle are finished or are finishing, or I don't know, but they end up having a little kiss, and now they're getting back together. So there you go.
On again, off again.
On again, off
like,
again.
Man. Like I like the characters. I like Danielle. I like Connor, but I like them separate. I like them as colleagues. Like, I'm not digging their relationship.
The chemistry just isn't there.
Yeah, like as a couple.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more fun to see them as like, you know, friends who are also lawyers who also happen to end up in the same courtroom on opposing sides. And then like that kind of relationship. I think they'd be awesome at that.
I agree with you. I think that could be really fun. And and then you get that the next is the scene with Trace saying he doesn't like the band, and I'm like, you got to hand it to Mick. He's literally in this club in the bridge with his laptop working. And I'm like, that's who I want to be a partner with, man. And
that's the other thing too, is like Mick's heart and soul is business. He's not letting anything, you know, take him away from business, because that's what he loves. That's what his thing is. Whereas Trace, like, he can't multitask. So
but then I became anti-Team Mick for the first time, because he tells Trace, he's like, you've got to decide what you want, and you've got to make a choice and whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these people.
Well, I mean,
what has nobody ever met a musician before?
Well, I mean, I think to be fair to Mick, you can't be doing tours. Like, he's already proved to himself. He's already proved that he cannot multitask. He's either got to pick one or the other. And not saying like he can't have both feet in two places. It's just that he's either going to take Mick up on the offer, being like the backup silent person. Hey, we're bringing the people in. Okay. More like
but he was saying this, I agree with you that like if he was up for the partnership idea, then like but I thought that Mick was saying this in regards to Abby and Trace being gone from Abby's life.
Oh,
that's what I thought. And have you talked to Abby? How does, whatever. And so that's why I thought he's like, well, you have to pick. And I'm like, I'd want a ring on my finger if I was making that kind of sacrifice. But anyway, whatever. Also, I felt like Jess is kind of borrowing problems, about this, like, what if you get tired of me? And what if you don't like me in the future? And he's like, I love you. You're all that I want. She's like, well, what if you get tired of that? And it's like, cross that bridge when you come to it. I mean, it's good to be prepared and all, but like, there's only so much David can do to like reassure her that he won't in the future not be in love with her.
Yeah. I think it goes back to not having deep conversations and it all being surface. Like, I really want to see a conversation where Jess admits like that she has abandonment issues or something like that. I think that's what it stems from. It's like she was abandoned by her mom as a kid. Her dad was never home. Like, you know, now I think it's like her first for real relationship that's everlasting.
I think that he needs to put a ring on this girl. I think she needs to know that he's really committed and that he's not going anywhere and that he really loves her. And that's what he needs to do.
Yeah.
They need to get married.
I would dig it.
Yeah.
All the Chesapeake Shore couples, I want to see them get married first. The engagement first.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen.
Off and start their own like little bed and breakfast off the coast of Maine and
start their own auberge.
And then they'd live happily ever after, and you know they'd have beautiful children and all that jazz.
Yeah.
The end.
So then we get a little scene with Connor and Kevin, and that's when Kevin announces that he tells him that he has this job offer in Chesapeake Shores, and what is he going to do? And then we finally get to the big family meeting. There was 4 minutes left in the episode, and there's only one other episode left. Like, I can't. So frustrated by that. 4 minutes, and like this was a really good. It was a good scene. It was a really good scene, but it was a really good scene. Yeah. I do not understand why Megan. I do not understand why Megan had no custody or visitation at all. Like, that is super unusual, especially for somebody with 5 children. Like, that's affluent and stuff. Like, that just doesn't happen. Like, that you have nothing. And like, and we could sort of speculate that like, oh, it was because they mentioned a couple times that she was unwell or things, but like, you'd have to be very unwell to not have visitation, to not spend any time with your children. Like, what?
Right. Well, okay. So let's think back. She said that after Jess was born, okay, so they alluded to postpartum depression.
Yes.
Then they alluded to the fact that she couldn't get out of bed. Jess and Connor were 6 and 8 years old when Megan left. So there's 6 years there of just like mental illness and anxiety, depression, etc. She leaves. She goes and gets help. She just up and leaves, goes and gets help. But then she doesn't come back. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that she didn't have any visitation rights, unless they've mentioned that I missed it, right? Because she might have had custody, but Mick might not have let the kids go.
Like, that's terrible. I mean, if Mick didn't allow any visitation or custody, first of all, that's illegal. And second of all, that's a horrible thing to do to your children.
Unless he proved that she was an unfit mother because she was not well, unless like in a psych ward or something. And the only reason why I say that is because I remember from one of the seasons, Kevin says, why didn't you let me come visit you or something like that after 9/11? And Megan said, I really wanted you to come, but your father wouldn't let you come.
Yeah, it just, I don't know.
Like, super far-fetched.
Like, but I mean, that paints Mick as a villain. If he really doesn't allow his children to be around their mother at all, like, I understand if he needs to have full custody, but if he doesn't allow them to have, then it doesn't really make sense, their relationship now, because they're just like, hey, Was that a date that we just went on? Ha ha ha. Like if somebody had literally taken my children from me and I had had no involvement with them as their mother, like I would never be able to get over that. Like that would be a wound that would never heal. And she says that, oh, I left out of love. I want to know what that means. I want to know what it means for her. I don't want to have to just speculate. I want the show to tell me. I want Megan to tell me.
Right. Because I will tell you, I would not leave my children out of love. Like, that makes absolutely, unless I was like, I'm leaving for a time to get help and I'm coming back because I want to be a better parent. But you don't just leave your 6 and 8-year-old for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because they're 20, we've decided they're 26, 28.
Right.
20 years and just feel like everything should be happy again. Like,
no.
I just don't understand like anything. And I hate the fact that she keeps saying I was not well. Well, why were you not well? Like, don't make us, read between the lines. Spill it. Like, say it, spell it out. Like, and I struggled with anxiety and depression and I was about to kill myself.
Yeah.
And I was going to harm you. And I didn't want to do that. Like, because those are real things that that happen. And if that's the case, if she was that depressed and she felt like she was going to harm her children, then yes, go get help.
Yeah. Because she should have at least like had them at Christmas and that would be like, or, and have some, so they could imagine some fun memories of being in New York with their mom at Christmas or something. Like that's not going to derail them from their friends and their schooling and their, so it would have to be either, I figure it has to be one of three things. One, she was an unfit parent. And they certainly haven't, they've hinted at some mental illness problems, but I need more than a hint. I need to know. Second, she could have just decided, I'm done being a parent, but we know that's not true because she says she left out of love. So that's not it. And then third is that Mick literally kept her from her children, which doesn't make sense with her behavior towards Mick. And I cannot imagine Nell for a second allowing that to happen. If Nell was the major caregiver, then that would never happen. So I'm left feeling like, what?
Yeah. And then the other thing that's interesting too is that Kevin and Abby obviously side with their mom.
They're certainly more sympathetic to her.
Well, even that, like during that meeting, Kevin, one of them, they obviously stuck up for their mom because Connor was like, she shouldn't have left us, and they were like, you don't remember because you were little, and they were like, I was a kid, I know what happened. Tired of them dangling the fruit in front of my face and just like, here, pick a grape and figure it out. Tastes good.
Yeah, and like every couple that goes through divorce, unless they're super lame and they don't even try, has fighting. Like that's part of you don't have a dissolvement of a marriage without conflict.
Right.
I can't even imagine. And so I feel like you either have to show that here's how we repaired our relationship to get up to this point that we're at now.
Right.
Or they should still have a toxic relationship, one or the other. And they haven't done either of those. Obviously a very broken family, but like, I feel like their interactions, aside from when Bree's book gets brought up, are perfectly cordial. They're out like making toast and having family dinners. And I guess there's some truth to that, but I don't know.
I mean, they're a family that they don't talk to each other. So I can understand that. Like, you sweep everything under the rug, you act like everything's happy, hunky-dory, and then when the wounds come out, it's like nobody knows how to communicate because you've not communicated before.
Kind of, but like I feel like they actually do communicate quite a bit. They have all these fireside chats where they're talking and
yeah, but I mean they're not talking about anything deep.
I mean,
like it's all about like, how's your day? How's this? Blah, blah, blah. How's Sarah? How's Danielle? All like they just, and I don't know, like my family, we don't talk about anything super like conflicting, if you will. So maybe that's why I can. That's why I have the point of view that I have.
Yeah.
Like we just don't do the whole confrontation thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from a family with 6 kids, and we are all as different as can possibly be, all 6 of us. And luckily, I mean, it's honestly for the best right now that we're all sort of scattered all around the world, literally, right now. Which, so we can support each other and be there for each other, but we don't have to, like, be there for each other.
Right.
That's good. But, like, we would not do well with all 6 of us in Chesapeake Shores, I can tell you that right now. But... but I don't know. I feel like they are a family that spends a lot of time together and talks a lot and has these, I guess they're all superficial conversations, but man, geez.
Yeah. And I mean, I also think too, like the siblings may have deep conversations. I'm sure this is not the first time that they have unleashed their feelings. But when it comes to the kids and their parents, specifically the younger 3 and Mick and Megan, that's when it's just surface. It's not anything deep because Mick was never there for them. He was always working. Megan obviously left. Yeah. So I think that's also the thing, like that we see that the siblings have deep connections with each other. Like, we had that scene with Connor and Jess earlier this season. They were like talking about relationship issues or whatever, or like Bree and Connor or whatever, but never with, like, I don't think the 3 of them exposed their feelings towards their parents. And that's why it's super like, why can you not communicate with each other?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. And they just have all this resentment. And we knew that Jess did, and Bree's had some of that over the seasons. And she's going to publish her book, whether they like it or not, is basically kind of what she said in this, which is interesting. And yeah, that one was that Bree, man. I was like, girl, you are about to do something, and I don't know if I like it. Yeah, I mean, is there any other book she could write? Like, really?
At first, I thought it was just like an exaggeration of their lives or like some little things here and there. I didn't realize it was like a complete fictionalized memoir. Like, that's kind of, I mean, airing the dirty laundry, that's kind of...
Yeah, it sounds like it is. I mean, the big advice is supposedly write what you know, which is actually a lot of times really terrible advice, because most of our lives are super boring. And so like, but evidently that's what she did. And I don't know, as somebody, my sister's a published author. And so to a certain degree, I have sympathy for Bree, because I mean, I told my sister, I called her up after last week's episode and I said, hey, I've decided if you need to write about me, I give you permission. You can write about me. I can deal with it. I can handle it. I'm not going to be like these people.
That is too funny.
And luckily she writes picture books for the moment. So I'll probably be okay. But I just said, I just want you to know, I give you my permission. Yeah. But anyway, I did like the scene. I thought there was some good emotion from Jess, some good emotion from Bree, from Mick. You got somebody from everybody. It did feel like a little play, but I was just frustrated because it was just almost felt like too little, too late.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna get one episode where we really dive into this. Hopefully, we kind of dive into it next week. And I just feel like it was such a missed opportunity. They could have had this meeting between all of them in like episode 4, and we could have spent like 6 episodes. I mean, all that time spent at the Boston Pecs, for instance, which led to nothing.
Yeah.
what have we found? What has happened because of the Boston Pecks? We know that David is more in love with her. We knew that he was in love with her. Like, there's nothing we've gained from that at all, except for a couple fun sequences. But as far as the story, it has meant zero.
Should have moved that up. Everything should have just moved up.
And all the trace and is something going to happen? I mean, they have a lot to finish off if we're going to get something with Miss Marvel and Abby, or is that just done? I guess
it's done.
There were all these plot lines that were just wasted. Like, why did we spend all that time with the vow renewal? Yeah. What was the point of that?
Yeah. There are a lot of things that were just weird, and I feel like there are good storylines in this season, but they were just misplaced. Like the Miss Marvel thing, that would have been a good episode 1. Because I mean, it did have. I thought it had good. It was a good storyline. We shouldn't compare ourselves to other people, and things are not as they seem. And you can co-parent with somebody who seems more perfect than you are. And you can be friends with them. I can see that since it's Hallmark and we live in the land of happy, but that should have been episode 1 where it's light and fluffy. And then they should have had the book come out episode 4 and then have everybody just not talking to each other throughout episodes. And then the train derailment in episode 10.
Yeah. We agree they should have definitely cut out all of those scenes with Simon and Bree in the book and all of the scenes with Trace and the band, and is he going to leave the band or not the band, and the bridge and all of that stuff.
And the other thing too is this is beginning to feel like this end of season 2 where Trace is like, I don't know, I got to go tour with the band. What am I going to do? And Abby's like, I'm going to let you go, baby. You just go. And now next week he's going to tell her, I'm going to Europe for 6 months, and she's going to be like, well, you just follow your dreams, and I guess we're gonna have to break up. It's the same plot line. Yeah. What the heck?
I know.
No.
I guess they really just wanted him to have snipe hunts with the girls. I don't know what's going on. I just don't understand why. I just wish that we could have gotten this at episode 4. They could have really dove into the family conflict. We could have had real conflict that really forces people to grow, that really forces people to change, that real forgiveness for some real forgiveness flowers would be in order here. They have just not done a very good job with developing characters, with making them make interesting choices, and it's just been boring. They made a boring show. Sorry. So, but so, and last week Barbara Niven said on Twitter, she said, I have written reams of backstory, but there isn't time to share it. And
I should have gotten that time. She's way more interesting than the band, because we already had the story about the band last season.
Yes.
I could have done without the band, the paparazzi thing, all that stuff with the band. That should not have even been a focus. The focus this season should have been about Megan in the book, and not just Bree writing the dang book, but us seeing the effects of the book.
Yeah.
She should have read the book episode 3. And the whole confrontation scene, which was amazing, it should have not been 4 minutes. It should have been a whole episode.
Yeah.
I could have just been a fly on the wall watching them duke it out. I was like, Connor's about to throw down that table. He's about to flip it up on Brendan Penny.
It could have been a little play almost. Today in the Facebook group, the Chesapeake Shores Facebook group, people were expressing we're not the only ones with this opinion. I won't say names because I don't want to, but there were a lot of people that were very frustrated by this season, which made me feel much better because I was like, okay, good. Like I said, I won't say names because I don't have her permission, but somebody said, I don't know about anyone else, but I have been struggling to stay interested this season. Abby and Trace, there just doesn't seem to be anything there. And having him come and go all the time is getting old. whatever happened with the photographers taking pictures of Trace, Abby, and the girls. I feel like that could have turned into a pretty good storyline. I love Bree and would love to see more of her. I hope Caroline doesn't come between Bree and Simon. I'd like to see Kevin and Connor with other girlfriends, just can't get into the ones now. And I just don't know how to feel about Mick. Sometimes I think he's a good guy, but then you see how he is with Trace and Megan. I hope next season everything picks up more. And then currently there are 69 comments. So
yeah,
a lot of I agree, and another person, I agree, and I thought it was just me. I feel the same. What a lackluster storyline. I agree with you. So we're not alone.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I think the best storyline this season that actually had something was when Jess went to the Pecs and her conflict with Brie being resolved, and then the Cinderella moment and all that. I mean, there could have been a little more, but I really did.
Yeah, that
I really
was fun.
did like that scene. It was a lot of fun. I just wish that other storylines either had that much pizzazz or that they just didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wish that I don't know how they map up stories or whatever. But like, for example, in When Calls the Heart, it's always like arc 1 and 2, like episodes 1 and 2 is the story arc, 2 and 3 is the story arc, so on and so forth. And then you have like the overarching arc for the first 6 episodes, which was like the railroad. They could have done something similar like that to Chesapeake Shores, but the storylines were all over the place. And then it was like, you're waiting, they're building this up, and the synopsis is like, the O'Briens are going to duke it out. And like, I was waiting for them to duke it out, and then they didn't even really duke it out in the format. Yeah. They could have duked it out.
It's like bringing a pillow to a knife fight. I mean, that's what this is like.
Yeah. So I just kind of wish that the writers would have mapped out the stories better, and that they would have not done so much focus on Trace and the band, because we already got that last season.
Yep.
Like,
I agree.
Bree writing, like, we knew Bree was writing a book, so we didn't have to see her and Simon be conflicting about the book. Like, we could have just started off with, the book is done, Abby, read it. And then just like go from there, but not focus too much on that. And like, Barbara Niven can read the book like episode 3.
Or I think it could be interesting if like, if you're going to do the whole Trace thing, like you have to give more of a reason for it being a problem than he's gone. Like, make him like, I don't know, like,
make him kind of jerkish.
What's that?
Make him kind of jerkish.
Yeah, make him kind of jerkish when he gets home. So he's like taking it home. Or what if he like starts drinking on the road because he's sad? Or what if there's like, I don't know, what if he's tempted by, I mean, all this stuff, I guess Hallmark doesn't want to go in these darker directions, but like, there's got to be some other reason besides he's just doing his job.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what it is. He's doing his job. And, so I don't know. You got to make the conflict more interesting than just like business. The business is in the conflict.
Right.
Almost every conflict is revolved around business or some kind of lawsuit in some way or another. And the one thing that wasn't was this. I would have liked Nell to have been in that little conversation with the family, because she's the one that raised them. So she's got to have a say in all of this. Like, why did she not fight for Megan to be a part of these kids' lives? Like, I want to know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, well, it is what it is. I'm very skeptical that we're going to get another season of this show. I think that next week is the finale. Especially after I saw the 69 comments thing, like if even the hardcore fans are getting frustrated, then that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying the book is 1 billion times better, which I think is probably true.
I'm going to be reading the book.
Oh, what's that?
I just checked. I'm going to be reading the book.
Oh,
I checked it out from the library. I'm picking it up tomorrow. So I'll let y'all know.
Like, seriously, if you just saw this, I'm just not into this season. I agree, it's lost something. I'm struggling with this season. It's been so boring. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't get renewed.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Which is sad because the actors are awesome. They're amazing. I really love the cast.
I do too.
They're fantastic.
I love all the cast, and so yeah, it seems like it's a shame. But anyway, we'll see what happens next week. Maybe they'll turn it all around in one episode, and it'll all be redeemed. But anyway, let us know what you think. If you think we're being way too harsh, then let us know what you liked. And how you feel about the conflict this season. Put in the comment section or on Twitter. That would be really great. And we would love to hear your thoughts. And so Kaycee, where can people find you?
You can find me at Hallmark My Words on Twitter. Yay.
Right. Yeah. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and on YouTube. So please check that out. I'm starting my Disney Scares series over there, which I do every October. So it's a lot of fun. And so thanks again. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod on Instagram and Twitter and all of our social media. And if you can put in your reviews on iTunes, we really appreciate it as well. So thanks again. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.